Hello everyone, Rushlock here, and as always, remember to hit the subscribe button down below for the latest news, tips, and tricks for EVE Online. So today's post, we've got a tweet from CCP Games. We're excited to announce that we have secured $40 million financing, led by A16Z, or A16Z, to create a new AAA game within the EVE universe utilizing blockchain technology. Learn more here with the link that we're going to follow here in just a moment. So for those of us that are going to continue on and down this dive of the articles posted, and may not be familiar with the terms, basically CCP has partnered with other entities that are providing the financing to create a AAA game. Now, what is a AAA game? That's usually meant to signify that this is a fully fleshed out game, not some side project, not a small indie project by any means. They intend this to be a full release and standalone project. Some of you will hear the headline now and disengage, and that's fine, but that's the meat of the subject matter. Now we're going to follow this link and go into more detail here, and we're going to see some of these terms more frequently. A new AAA title from CCP Games utilizing blockchain technology set within the EVE universe. So keep in mind, they're going to have this set in New Eden, but not the same New Eden that you play EVE Online in, meaning that whatever project they're working on is not supposedly, at this time, not meant to be interlinked with actual EVE Online. Let's see. CCP Games has secured $40 million led by Andreessen Horowitz for an innovative new AAA game. Will further the company's mission with a new title utilizing blockchain technology. CCP Games, creators of sci-fi spacefaring MMO EVE Online, announced today that $40 million in financing has been secured from external partners. This financing will allow CCP Games to build upon the discoveries of its research and development team to enable the full-scale development of a new AAA title utilizing blockchain technology set within the EVE universe. A quote from Hilmar, "Since its inception, CCP Games' vision has been to create virtual worlds more meaningful than real life. Now, with advancements made within blockchain, we can forge a new universe deeply imbued with our expertise in player agency and autonomy, empowering players to engage in new ways. This financing has marked an exciting frontier in our studio history as we begin our third decade of virtual world operations. We are humbled by the confidence from our partners in the development of this new title." End quote. With key game systems developed on-chain, this new project will also leverage smart contract blockchain technology, focusing on persistence, composability, and truly open third-party development to create a new relationship between virtual worlds and players. This financing was led by Andreessen Horowitz, A16Z, with participation from Makers Fund, Bitcraft, Kingsway Capital, Hashed, Nexon, and additional participants. Personally, I'm only familiar with Nexon from their interactions with Maple Story. I think we have a community member, Rashad, who's big into that game. And I've seen Nexon label on a couple other similar type of games. And yeah, that hasn't imbued a lot of confidence, but they generate revenue, I suppose. Next quote from general partner Jonathan Lay from A16Z. CCP Games is a pioneer in virtual worlds and digital economies with 25 years of experience, creating living sandboxes with unparalleled depth. They're a veteran team. We believe in their ambitious vision to deliver incredible player experiences at the intersection of best-in-class game design and blockchain technology. End quotes. Next quote from Makers Fund principal, I'm going to butcher names by the way, Ali Otterson. The depth and nuances of EVE have become a frequent point of reference in blockchain gaming, and we are therefore thrilled to support the team's impressive vision of expanding the EVE universe utilizing this technology. As a former employee, it's a great personal joy to be reunited with CCP and to witness their continued passion for creating truly meaningful virtual worlds. Now, if anyone listening to this can link this name, Alderson, to CCP, whatever, feel free to do so. I'll research it later, but if you happen to know who it is, feel free to share. Also, I want to interject with, a lot of people will be wondering what blockchain is. I'm going to very, very much oversimplify this because you can do your own research and get a lot of different viewpoints on this. But my oversimplification would be they basically want your in-game items to have quote-unquote real-world value. The way they'll do that, if we're going to oversimplify it, think about the Diablo 3 real money auction house. Being able to move items from user to user in exchange for a independently sourced currency through this project, and then that currency has value based on the confidence of its users within the property or the product being developed here. So think of it as like an overly complicated real money auction house. We've long marveled at stories of interstellar war, spaceships lost forever lost. Let me back that up a little bit. This is a quote from Bitcraft Ventures partner Carlos Pereira. We've long marveled at stories of interstellar war, spaceships lost forever, and the constant challenges of staying ahead of emergent, sovereign play patterns. Hilmar and the team's experience is unmatched, and we're excited to see how they use blockchain to let players dream further. End quote. One concern that I have is the frequency at which partners are mentioning how EVE is a sandbox and that CCP has a lot of experience running a player-driven world and things of that degree in nature, which to some extent is absolutely true. But no one's addressing how, when faced with a financial crunch, CCP has demonstrated a comfort level with tanking their in-game economy at the expense of raising revenue quarter to quarter. The counterpoint to that could be with Pearl Abyss purchasing them, they've had less financial strain and pressure on them to meet quarterly goals and such, as evidenced by a lot of necessary and unpopular changes they've made within the way that EVE Online works in the last several years. So there's a little give and take there, but it'll be interesting to see how CCP, well, I imagine they won't address it. It's usually the way it goes, but I wonder if they'll ever address or acknowledge, hey, we've done X in the past, and the Y we plan on, of course, not doing that. Alongside independent financing, this new titles of production is separate from current and previously disclosed projects, including EVE Online, which is now in its landmark 20th year. So they're basically stating here that this is not to be confused with a intertwining with our current EVE Online product as we are familiar with it, nor is it a cannibalization of any other announced projects currently in development as well. CCP Games looks forward to sharing updates as development progresses. To learn more about open positions at CCP Games, visit this page, careers page. Let's actually visit that real quick because just a couple weeks ago, CCP had laid off about 12 or 13 folks and had mentioned that several of the positions would be replaced isn't the right word, but basically new positions would be created in some degree or scale to the number of positions that were laid off. Nothing communicated that 13 out, 13 in, but if we go back to that video, I think I'd look at this page as well. So if you go to that video and cross-reference it, I'll try to do that later on today. But until then, if you guys do it before then, let me know how this compares to what we showed in that video. I remember there being, I thought, one London position back then. So maybe there was two more, but again, I could be easily misremembering. That was weeks ago. But we'll take a look at that later. So we've gone through our first two posts. Let's go to our third post. This is an announcement post from Andreessen Horowitz, the lead financing partner. Investing in CCP Games. Years before the first blockchain was created, the sci-fi space MMO EVE Online proved out many of the core principles that define Web3 today. This is why we are excited to be partnering with CCP on a new project set in the EVE universe. Context on EVE Online. Released in 2003 by Icelandic developers CCP Games, EVE Online is a persistent virtual world in which items ranging from drones to massive dreadnoughts are made by players and freely tradable in an open economy. In contrast to scripted games, EVE is a giant sandbox where players determine the narrative, self-organizing into corporations, aka guilds, with their own progression, politics, and incentives. Something else to point out here is, this is kind of like devil's advocate approach here. As much as people will scoff and turn their nose up at blockchain and Web3 involvement, and for some for good reason, bear in mind, from trying to understand the other person's perspective, the same ridicule and scoffing happened when CCP was being or shopping to pitch EVE Online as an idea into the industry of MMOs in the first place. It was too ambitious. It was too big of an undertaking, and it would never work. So, right or wrong, as people will push back against this, certainly, bear in mind, if it seems like you're being ignored or dismissed, you may very well be experiencing that, and there's a reason for it. People were wrong 20 years ago, and there's no reason for them to think that you're not wrong now. It doesn't mean that you are. It doesn't mean that your concerns or reservations are not warranted, but bear in mind, Hilmar specifically has been in the room before with people who didn't agree with him, and people will quickly point out, look at the established line of failures since EVE Online, and a counterpoint to that is, well, he succeeded more times than you have. So if it looks like, man, how could they fail project after project after project after project and still keep trying to do things that aren't the one thing they succeeded in? Again, right or wrong, one of the elements of success is failing multiple times. Since 2018, 50 million EVE players have manufactured over 276 billion items and engaged in some of the biggest and most expensive wars in games history. Examples: the Guinness World Record holding M2 Tech XFE battle, where 3,000 plus spaceships worth over $378,000 were destroyed. Man, is that disingenuous. Whenever I see these third-party news sites reporting this garbage about how ships have real cash money world value, it's done for clickbait. And it also communicates that the author has absolutely no awareness of EVE Online itself, because it gives the idea that players can spend money and just buy ships, which obviously isn't the case. And on top of this economy, the EVE Online community has built a rich ecosystem of third-party tools and apps supported by an API, showing that there is a great interest among players to participate and collaborate in building virtual universes. So, in my experience, seeing the word supports and third-party developers in the same sentence is going to raise some eyebrows. ESI API issues have been ongoing for years now, with little to no communication from CCP on when these issues were going to be addressed. I can't get into the details of it because it's all over my head, but these are just me observing posts over the years of those interactions. Principles of Web3 gaming. Let me back that up a little bit. It will be interesting to see if any of those developers do show an interest in getting involved in this, and if so, if they'll see a higher degree of transparency or interaction or support than they're seeing in EVE Online, at least. Principles of Web3 gaming. We believe that the next generation of Web3 games will share these same principles, built from the ground up to merge proven gameplay with open economies, player-driven social systems, and composability. CCP has long led the way, and that's why we're excited to announce that A16Z is leading the seed round in CCP's new game. This new AAA title will combine CCP's 25 years of game design experience with the latest in blockchain technology to enable a new frontier in a player agency and autonomy, and will also be set within the EVE universe. Something else to, I guess, back that up a little bit was, I was going to touch back when we talked about the Hilmar experience, but I've lost the thought now, so we'll just move on. Collaborating with CCP. The CCP team is uniquely qualified for this endeavor. Over the last year, we've spent a lot of time with CEO Hilmar and came away impressed with his thoughtful approach to Web3, his experience running CCP through multiple business cycles, and his pragmatism as a veteran entrepreneur and studio leader. Hilmar has been on the bleeding edge of blockchain gaming since 2017, long before crypto was mainstream, and has continued to bring mainstream recognition to the opportunity. Speaking at forums as distinguished as the Nobel Prize Week, to lead this new title, he has assembled an independent team of world-class experts from CCP, including director, I don't even try the name, I'll butcher it. Let's see, though through many meetings, late-night conversations, and meals, we've gotten to know the CCP team well, and even celebrated as one of the player community at EVE FanFest in Reykjavik. The team has already made great progress in product development, and we've been very impressed by the playtest thus far. So there's a takeaway here. There's already a team within CCP that's been organized and directed to work on this project. Now, some of you will remember your subscription prices going up about this time last year by a third. And while we can't, follow every exact dollar, it's all about optics and perception. The reality is irrelevant. But when people start putting things together, like, wait, a year ago you raised our sub rates. A couple of weeks ago you laid off over a dozen people. Now you're announcing a blockchain game after securing $40 million in funding, and we find out that there's been some number or element within CCP who's been tasked with this and are not looking at EVE Online or other current projects. None of it's like fundamentally or functionally shocking at all, but from an outside perspective, if this is all new information to somebody, it would seem like a much larger deal or issue. Together we share the belief that player ownership and governance within an open platform can be a key source of fun that serves to amplify great gameplay and captivating game design. Congrats to the CCP Games team. We at A16Z couldn't be more excited to join this journey with you to build the next generation of virtual worlds, which reminds me of the point I was trying to get back to earlier, is that there is absolutely no example of a successful or entertaining or engaging or enjoyable blockchain video game. They don't exist. At least to your average user's perspective, right? Could there be an exception? Absolutely. Have we seen that exception? Absolutely not. But on the same token, 20 years ago, no one had seen a sandbox MMO that had been successful. And EVE Online was the first and possibly the last. We have other games that attempt to emulate it or claim to be a sandbox, and to some extent they are, to varying degrees of legitimacy, but EVE is pretty unique and pretty much the standard metric for what a sandbox game could be. So what will happen with all this, we'll have to wait and see. But thank you for checking out the video, and we'll see you next time.